I had no idea that one cup of coffee could change your entire life until it happened to me. My name is Maya, and 6 months ago, I was drowning. Not literally, but in every way that mattered. I was 32, living in a cramped studio apartment in Denver, Colorado, working 3 part-time jobs just to keep my head above water. Every morning, I'd wake up to the same suffocating reality. Bills piling up, dreams collecting dust, and a voice in my head that whispered the same cruel lie over and over. You're not enough. But what happened next changed everything I thought I knew about how the universe works. It started on a Tuesday morning in March. I remember because it was the day my landlord left another eviction notice on my door, the 3rd one in 2 months. I stood there in my ratty pajamas, holding that yellow piece of paper, and something inside me just broke. Not in a dramatic way, but like a dam finally giving way after years of pressure. I'd been working as a substitute teacher, a weekend barista, and doing freelance graphic design whenever I could find clients. Despite all that hustling, I was still $100 and $200 short on rent. My savings account had been empty for months. The law of attraction stuff my sister kept talking about seemed like fairy tale nonsense for people who'd never had to choose between groceries and gas money. That morning, I grabbed my laptop and headed to this little coffee shop called Grind and Bloom in the artsy part of downtown. I'd been going there for months, not because I could afford their overpriced lattes, but because they had free Wi-Fi and the owner, an elderly black woman named Mrs. Chen, never made me feel guilty for nursing one small coffee for 3 hours while I worked on design projects. As I walked in, trying to hold back tears, Mrs. Chen looked up from behind the counter. She had these kind eyes that seemed to see right through you, and today they were filled with concern. "Maya, honey, you look like you've been wrestling with the world again," she said, already reaching for my usual cup. I tried to smile, but it came out wobbly. "Just one of those days, Mrs. Chen. Actually, make that one of those years." She paused, studying my face. "You know what? This one's on the house, and I'm making you something special today." Before I could protest, she was already moving, her weathered hands dancing between the espresso machine and various jars I'd never seen her use before. The whole shop smelled like cinnamon and something else, something warm and hopeful that I couldn't quite place. "What are you making?" I asked, genuinely curious despite my misery. "A little something my grandmother used to make back in Taiwan," she said, not looking up from her work. "She called it intention coffee, said it was for people who'd forgotten how to dream." I almost laughed. "I haven't forgotten how to dream, Mrs. Chen. I just can't afford to anymore." She looked up then, and there was something in her expression that made me go quiet. "Dreams aren't about money, sweetheart. They're about believing you deserve good things. When did you stop believing that?" The question hit me like a physical blow. When had I stopped believing? Was it when my design portfolio got rejected by the 15th agency? When my college boyfriend told me I was too ambitious for my own good? When my parents suggested I be more realistic about my career goals? Mrs. Chen slid the cup across the counter. It looked like a regular latte, but it smelled like Christmas morning and new beginnings. "This one comes with homework," she said with a smile. "Homework? Every morning for the next week, I want you to write down 3 things you're grateful for and 3 things you want to manifest in your life. Not big, impossible things, just small, real things that would make you feel a little more like yourself." I stared at her. "You're serious?" "Dead serious. And Maya? I want you to write them like they're already happening, like they're already yours." I took the cup with shaking hands. The first sip was incredible. It tasted like hope, if hope had a flavor. Rich and warm and somehow familiar, like coming home after a long journey. "What's in this?" "Intention," she said simply, "and a little bit of faith." I found my usual corner table and opened my laptop, but I couldn't focus on work. Mrs. Chen's words kept echoing in my head. "When did you stop believing you deserve good things?" That night, I did something I hadn't done in years. I grabbed an old notebook, one I'd bought with grand plans that never materialized, and I started writing. Not a to-do list or a budget or any of the usual anxiety-inducing stuff. I wrote about gratitude. 3 things I'm grateful for. Mrs. Chen's kindness today. having a warm place to sleep tonight, my hands that can create beautiful things. Then came the harder part. 3 things I wanted to manifest. 3 things I want to attract into my life. A steady income from my design work. A sense of peace about my future. The courage to believe in myself again. I wrote them like Mrs. Chen suggested, as if they were already mine. I am grateful for my steady income from design work. I am grateful for the peace I feel about my future. I am grateful for the courage that flows through me every day. It felt ridiculous. It felt like lying. But it also felt like the first honest thing I'd done in months. The next morning, I woke up and immediately reached for the notebook. Day 2. I expected to feel silly, but instead, I felt curious, like I was conducting an experiment with my own life. 3 things I'm grateful for. I slept through the night without anxiety waking me up. The sunrise through my window looked like a painting. I have enough coffee for 1 more cup. 3 things I want to manifest. A new client who values my work, $500 to ease the financial pressure. A sign that I'm on the right path. Again, I wrote them as if they were already real. I am grateful for my new client who values my work. I am grateful for the $500 that came to me easily. I am grateful for the clear signs that I'm on the right path. That afternoon, something strange happened. I was at Grind and Bloom, working on a logo design for a local yoga studio, a project that paid almost nothing but at least kept my skills sharp, when a woman at the next table leaned over. "Excuse me," she said, "but I couldn't help noticing your work. Are you a graphic designer?" Her name was Sarah, and she was the marketing director for a sustainable fashion startup. They were looking for a designer to help with their rebrand. She handed me her card and said, "I love your style. Are you available for a consultation this week?" I stared at the card, my heart racing. "Yes," I managed. "Yes, I am." "Perfect. How does Thursday at 2 p.m. sound? Fair warning, we're a small company, but we believe in paying creatives what they're worth." After she left, I sat there in shock. A new client who values my work. The words from my notebook echoed in my mind. Could this be? No. It had to be coincidence. But Thursday came, and the consultation went better than I'd dared hope. Sarah's company needed a complete visual identity overhaul, and they loved my portfolio. The contract they offered was for $3,500, more than I'd made in the past 3 months combined. That night, I called my sister Priya. She'd been trying to get me interested in manifestation and the law of attraction for years, but I'd always rolled my eyes. "Pri," I said, "I need to tell you something weird." "Weird how?" I told her about Mrs. Chen, the notebook, the gratitude practice, and Sarah's job offer. "It's probably just coincidence, right?" There was a long pause. "Maya, have you ever heard of vibrational alignment?" "What?" "It's this idea that when you focus on gratitude and write down your desires like they're already real, you start to vibrate at the same frequency as what you want. You become a magnet for those experiences." That sounds like woo-woo nonsense, I know. But think about it. Before you started writing in that notebook, were you even open to new opportunities? Or were you so focused on everything going wrong that you couldn't see the good things trying to reach you? I thought about it. She had a point. For months, I'd been walking around with my head down, expecting rejection, expecting failure. I'd been so focused on what I didn't have that I'd stopped noticing what was possible. "Keep doing what you're doing," Priya said. "And Maya, pay attention to the synchronicities. The universe might be trying to tell you something." The next morning, I practically ran to my notebook. Day 5. 3 things I'm grateful for. The breakthrough with Sarah's company. My sister's wisdom and support, Mrs. Chen's magical intention coffee. 3 things I want to manifest. More clients who appreciate creative work. A home where I feel safe and inspired. The confidence to charge what I'm worth. Over the following weeks, something remarkable started happening. It wasn't dramatic. No lottery wins or sudden windfalls. But small, beautiful things began appearing in my life like gifts from an invisible friend. A former classmate reached out about designing wedding invitations. A local restaurant needed new menus and logos. Mrs. Chen introduced me to her nephew, who was launching a tech startup and needed branding help. Within a month, I had more work than I could handle. Not only that, but I found myself naturally raising my vibration by charging rates that reflected my actual worth instead of my desperation. But the real transformation wasn't in my bank account. It was in my mind. I started noticing beauty everywhere. The way light fell across my tiny apartment, the kindness of strangers, the satisfaction of creating something from nothing. I began to understand what conscious creation really meant. One morning in May, I was walking to Grind and Bloom when I saw a for rent sign in the window of a beautiful one-bedroom apartment just 3 blocks from the coffee shop. It was in an old brick building with huge windows and character that my current shoebox could never match. The old Maya would have walked past, assuming it was too expensive. But something made me call the number. The landlord, a gentleman named Roberto, met me there an hour later. The apartment was perfect, flooded with natural light, with built-in bookshelves and a little nook that would be perfect for a home office. It felt like coming home. "The rent is $950, he said, watching my face carefully. My heart sank. It was $300 more than I was paying, and I was still catching up from those months of struggle. "I can see you love it," Roberto said. "And Mrs. Chen from the coffee shop spoke very highly of you. She said you're good people." "Mrs. Chen talked to you about me?" He smiled. "She stops by sometimes. Says you're one of those rare ones, someone who treats everyone with kindness, even when you're going through hard times yourself. Listen, I've been burned by tenants before. But character matters more than credit scores, you know? If you want it, it's yours." Standing in that sun-filled apartment, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years. The absolute certainty that I was exactly where I was supposed to be. The universe had been listening all along. I moved in 3 weeks later. On my first morning in the new place, I sat at my little wooden desk by the window, opened my notebook, and wrote, 3 things I'm grateful for. My beautiful new home that feels like a sanctuary. The thriving design business that supports me. Learning that I am worthy of good things. 3 things I want to manifest. A love that feels like coming home. The courage to take my business to the next level. The wisdom to help others the way Mrs. Chen helped me, but what happened next still gives me chills. The very next day, I was at Grind and Bloom, now just a pleasant 5-minute walk from home, when Mrs. Chen sat down across from me with her own cup of coffee. "Maya," she said, "I have something to tell you." "What is it?" She smiled that knowing smile of hers. "I've been thinking about retiring. This place has been my baby for 15 years, but I'm ready for the next chapter. I've been watching you these past months, seeing how you've grown, how you treat people, how you've learned to believe in yourself again." My heart started racing. "Mrs. Chen? What are you saying?" "I'm saying I think you'd make a wonderful coffee shop owner. You understand the magic of creating spaces where people feel seen and valued. You know what it's like to need hope and kindness." "But I don't know anything about running a coffee shop." "You know about creating beautiful things. You know about connecting with people. You know about the power of intention. The rest can be learned." She leaned forward. "I'm not talking about selling it to you outright. I know that's not realistic right now. But what if we started with a partnership? You could slowly take over operations, learn the business, and eventually buy me out when you're ready." I stared at her, speechless. Was this really happening? "There's one condition," she said with a twinkle in her eye. "You have to promise to keep making intention coffee for people who need it. The world needs more spaces where people remember how to dream." That night I called Priya again. "You're not going to believe this," I said, and told her about Mrs. Chen's offer. "Maya," she said quietly, "do you realize what's happening here? You've been manifesting your dream life, one grateful thought at a time. You're not the same person who walked into that coffee shop 6 months ago." She was right. I wasn't the same person. I was someone who believed in possibility again. Someone who understood that your thoughts create your reality, and that gratitude is the fastest way to change your entire world. The partnership with Mrs. Chen is still new. We're taking it slow, learning together. But every morning, I wake up in my beautiful apartment, walk to my thriving design business, which now operates out of the coffee shop's back room, and serve intention coffee to people who need to remember their worth. Some days, I look around and can barely believe this is my life. But then I remember that none of this happened by accident. It happened because I learned to align my vibration with what I wanted instead of what I feared. Because I chose gratitude over grievance. Because I started believing that I deserved good things. Mrs. Chen was right about dreams not being about money. They're about remembering who you really are underneath all the fear and doubt. They're about trusting that the universe is always conspiring in your favor, even when you can't see how. The notebook is still by my bed. Every single morning, I write my 3 gratitudes and 3 manifestations. Not because I have to anymore, but because I want to. Because I've learned that creating your dream life isn't about one big moment. It's about 1,000 small moments of choosing faith over fear. And that intention coffee? I've never asked Mrs. Chen for the recipe. Some magic is meant to be felt, not explained. If you're reading this and you're where I was 6 months ago, drowning in doubt, convinced that good things happen to other people, I want you to know something. You are not stuck. You are not behind. You are not too late. You are exactly where you need to be to begin. Start with gratitude. Start with believing you deserve good things. Start with one small notebook and the courage to write down what you want as if it's already yours. The universe is listening. It's been listening all along, waiting for you to remember that you're worthy of miracles. And sometimes, miracles taste like coffee made with intention by someone who believes in you before you believe in yourself. If you believe that your dreams are worth fighting for, comment below. I am worthy of miracles. And if this story reminded you that you're not alone in your journey, please like and share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Your support helps me continue creating content that reminds us all of our infinite potential. Subscribe if you want more real stories about manifestation, spiritual awakening, and the beautiful art of conscious creation. Because every single one of us has the power to write a new story, starting right now.